All right, so we're going to be making burrata. I know I've done this a million times, but the three main ingredients in burrata are ricotta, fresh mozzarella, and some olive oil. But we need to make our ricotta. In order to make ricotta, we need three kinds of milk. We have regular, just whole milk. We have heavy cream, and we have buttermilk. And it's usually like 2 to 1 to 2 to 1. So it's like 1 cup of buttermilk, 2 cups of heavy cream, 4 cups of milk. Okay, and that's the base to make our ricotta. So we want to add our whole milk, our heavy cream, and our buttermilk. And then we want to bring these up over a low flame. If you do it too high a flame, you'll scorch the milk and then your ricotta will taste burnt. We want to bring this up to about 190 degrees, so just to about where it's shimmering and a little bit of steam coming off of it. It's going to take probably about 8 to 12 minutes before that happens over a medium-low heat. Yep, that's perfect. This has come up to be about 190 degrees, and you can see it's kind of a little curdled already because of the buttermilk, the acid in the buttermilk. So then what we want to do is add some lemon juice and vinegar. I'm using about 1 ounce of each for this amount, and you just want to pour it in. You can turn the heat off at this point. If you have citric acid at home, which is super easy to find, you can use that to continue to curdle it instead of using the lemon juice and the vinegar. Okay, so we've gotten our acid into our milk and cream base. So now we need some cheesecloth, and I like to just put that right over a little handheld strainer and go pretty big on the cheesecloth. So I'm going to use 2 pieces so that they overlap so that I can tie them in a bundle. And then you really kind of want to let this sit for a couple of hours and let it really just drain on its own. So I'll have this colander here. I will take our curdled milk and just pour it into our cheesecloth. And then we'll let it slowly sink and strain out. And this will take about 1 hour. So our curd's been settling in here. I have my cheesecloth. So we can see that all the whey has come out of it. So we have the leftover whey. And then it's still warm. To squeeze out that little extra, you want to keep it a little bit moist. And then to finish our ricotta, we're going to go straight to a food processor and clunk this right in there. Throw away our cheesecloth. Want to put a good pinch of salt in here, like a good tablespoon or so of salt, because you want this to be salty. It's got that lemon juice and that vinegar, so it's nice and acidic. Just want to give it a few quick pulses. And then this is our finished creamy ricotta cheese that goes right into it. If it's really a little bit dry, I like to add a little bit of heavy cream to it, or you can add back in some of the whey to moisten it up and make it softer. So for our use today, this is a little thick. So I'm going to add just a touch of this whey back in because we want our burratas to be nice and soft and oozy. I don't know if oozy is really a word, so I'm gonna add a couple tablespoons back into the whey. Just to thin it out a touch. And just that little bit, you can see that it's a little bit creamier now. So now we're ready to make our burratas. Okay, so once we've pulsed it, we want to put it into a container. These are kind of the containers you're going to get that have the ricotta in it. And it's just easier to work out of than trying to work out of your food processor. So now that I've got my ricotta done, which is what you're getting, we have our mozzarella curd. So you're going to get this, and basically mozzarella curd is basically what I made, except I would have taken all that stuff and not pureed it, and I would have pressed it down and dried it, and that's essentially what mozzarella curd is. So you're going to want to take a little bit generous amount of salt, just to put that in there to give it a little bit of salt, and then we're going to pour boiling water over it, and you're going to pour just enough to kind of cover it. And you're going to want to keep some water on the stove boiling hot. So if you're not working quickly enough, you can always just dump out the cold water, put hot water back on top to kind of keep it soft and moist. Now you want to be kind of patient. Just let it sit for 2 or 3 minutes now with the hot water without really even touching it to let it melt and rehydrate. So while you're waiting for this to melt, really important step, and use something pretty quality. This is extra virgin olive oil. It's cold pressed extra virgin olive oil. And you want to put a nice ounce or 2 of that in the ramekin that you're using to make the burratas. This will help keep the bottom moist and also penetrate the mozzarella a little bit. So you can see I'm putting a pretty liberal amount in each one, and also helps it release really well. And our mozzarella's been sitting, so now we can see it's starting to come together and melt and get stringy. If you have those big old-fashioned rubber kitchen gloves or dishwashing gloves, this would be a great time to use it because this water is still really hot and it'll keep you from burning your hands. But you don't want to like overwork it. You really just want it to start coming together. So I can see it's all the curd I had in there has really all come together, and I can see I can get it nice and shiny and smooth, and that's what you're looking for. So now I'm going to start by taking just a little ball of the mozzarella. Probably take a bigger ball than you need, and then just start stretching it like you would any kind of dough. If you have to, you can dip it back in the water so it stays nice and elastic. And you want to stretch it so it's a little bit bigger than your container and super thin so you can almost see through it, like you can see my fingertips through it. And then lay it over your ramekin, push down a little bit, and then it's going to be just a nice scoop or 2 of the fresh ricotta, and then release the air and it'll sink in. And you can see I have thicker edges. I want to get rid of those. I want it to be as thin as possible. Put this back in your hot water. So you can really see the difference between that thickness and this thickness. And that's, you don't want, when you do it, to have a really big thick piece, because this is exposed, and then you're going to just fold over, and if it's still warm, so it's going to stick to itself, and then fold like that and give it a press. So you can see the olive oil is coming up over it, which is great. The reason you want that edge to be thin is because I've just overlapped like 5 pieces of it or 6 pieces of it. So I don't want this to be too tough, but it will have some texture because this is going to kind of dry out while the olive oil is going to penetrate the bottom and make it nice and soft and olive oily and really just baby's bottom soft. So we'll do one more. So I'm going to just pull one more piece of mozzarella. Once again, just squeezing and kind of stretching. Put it right over my cup. If you have an ice cream scoop, like a 3-ounce ice cream ladle, that works really well. Trim off. And then just fold over. Okay, so now that you've had these, you can refrigerate these for a day or two. Really important before you serve it though that you take them out and let them come to room temperature. Because the ricotta, as it gets cold, gets really firm and a little grainy. At room temperature, nice and soft, it'll stay this consistency. So, and then to unmold it, all you want to do, give it a little tap, let the olive oil flow around, and then some nice salt and black pepper on top of it, and you've got your homemade burrata iced burrata.